Good afternoon. Today we're running a podcast to talk about our waste and recycling services. I know how important these services are to every resident, the length and breadth of Copeland. And it's to us very much a key service. I'm delighted today to be joined by both the portfolio holder and the director of our commercial services. So waste and recycling falls under Councillor Steve Morgan's portfolio. And I'm delighted to have Steve with me today to talk through some of the issues and opportunities with recycling. And I've also got Sarah Pemberton with me, who you'll have seen on previous podcasts. Sarah is the director responsible for the service. Steve, we've just come through or we're coming towards, hopefully, the end of a COVID pandemic that has presented us as a local authority with no end of challenges. But probably some of the most significant challenges have been in waste recycling.
Protecting the environment is one of the most important functions of the Copeland Borough Council. So many of us work in the environmental restoration and protection industry, so it's in our DNA. And recycling is an important part of environmental protection. The Copeland Council is responsible for collecting recyclable materials as well as waste and delivering it to the county for consolidation, resale, and, if necessary, disposal. We've been among the national leaders in separation of recyclable materials, and the whole borough has been great about recycling. Unfortunately, the COVID crisis has created real challenges for us. The volume of material picked up by our recycling crews is up 78%, with cardboard filling up the trucks several times a day and thus requiring lengthy offload trips to the county facilities. It is likely that online shopping is going to continue, and we're just going to have to live with that. Moreover, the number of increases in new residences has increased the demand substantially. Our crews worked right through the pandemic, unlike so many other people that work from home or were furloughed. To meet demand, our lads often had to work extra long hours, 6 and 7 days a week, particularly in holiday weeks, in order to catch up. Making matters worse, we were often shorthanded because of illness, COVID quarantines, and just plain exhaustion. We often fell behind our schedule or had to miss residences either because of backlog or vehicles parked in skinny streets, normally empty on pre-COVID workdays. Compounding our challenges, some of our vehicles have broken down, been in accidents, or even caught fire, and even our newest acquired vehicle has not been very reliable. We acknowledge that in recent months we've often been behind, and we appreciate the understanding of the public as we struggled. If your neighbors were missed too, please be patient. We will get to you. You can find out online at our Copeland website which areas are delayed and when we expect to get to you. So you don't really have to call your counselor to get your rubbish picked up. If you think you alone were missed, give the council a call and we will make sure you're on the list for follow-up visits. We do want to make things better. So the council executive has taken the following actions. We've authorized hiring 10 additional crew who will be working more flexibly as needed, and some of these folks are already on board. We've acquired additional vehicles, relying a bit less on the recycle trucks to handle cardboard differently. We will be trailing behind the recycling trucks with another vehicle to pick up cardboard separately, so the main recycling vehicle won't need to make so many trips to offload cardboard, even as glass, plastic, metal, and paper bins are still half full. And we've authorized more funding for the operation if necessary, even though the revenue we collect for recycling materials is actually way down because supply is now out of alignment with demand. We can assure our residents that we will get to you, even if a day or two late sometimes. But some good news, we're now collecting green waste fortnightly and are keeping up with regular waste pickups. We're indeed catching up on recycling and hope our initiatives will get us back on track soon. But there will be times when your recyclables may still need to remain at the curb an extra day. As a result, however, I'd like to encourage residents to cover their bins so that the materials don't blow away. Our borough is a lovely place which should not be tainted by litter blown all over our neighborhoods. If you call the council, elastic covers can be provided. So thanks for your patience and continued separation of recyclable materials. You're doing the right thing and helping to keep our Copeland environment cleaner and healthier. Sarah Pemberton is our lead officer for commercial operations, and she and her team have other ideas. Sarah?
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Morgan, and I echo and agree with everything that you said there. So thank you for outlining that clearly for our residents and anybody who's watching today. I think we can definitely agree that it's been sort of a long journey that we've been on in the last 12 to 14 months, and I think we've had quite a few roadblocks that we've come up against and plenty of bumps in the road, and it's been very twisty and windy. But what I would like to sort of pay credit to is all of our crews in community services, and they've done an absolutely fantastic job. And as you've already said, they've worked throughout this pandemic, trying to offer and service all our households and residents in the best way that they can, with the resources and the challenges that we've all had to face into with this. So just to pick up on a couple of points that you just brought up there. So overall in the last 12 months, there's been a 30% increase in recycling, 75% increase in cardboard. And I think a lot of people see sort of Amazon probably as the fourth emergency service now, you know, sort of people are getting deliveries all the time, and habits have changed. You know, we've been in lockdown for, you know, sort of several lockdowns spanning over 12 months now, and we probably see, you know, sort of behaviours not changing back. We don't see, you know, sort of or anticipate, you know, based on government guidelines, those people who were office-based going back to the office. So what we can say looking ahead is that we recognise we will have increased pickups and recycling at curbside ongoing, and what we need now to find is how to meet that challenge going forwards. So what we intend to do is many of the things that you've said there. We have already brought in additional staff. We realise that if we have got over a 12-month period an average of 30% increase in recycling, that means the level to which we resource to prior to the pandemic is not going to cut it through the next 12 months or the next 24 months if we expect these levels to be where they are. So because of that, we have brought in an additional 4 seasonal people, as we would at this time of year, to make sure that we can deliver that fortnightly green waste collection service, which was a change from what we did last year, which was the monthly service. I think most people will recall there. So we've gone back to how we were operating pre-COVID already in delivering a fortnightly service. We've also brought in 2 beach cleaning operatives, which is really important to keep our beautiful beaches clean and available for everybody to use for that sort of great get outdoors and that healthy side of things that we all need during the pandemic, and also to welcome any tourists. We're aware of a lot more staycations that are going to be going on this year, and we want everybody to be coming into Copeland knowing that there's a clean, tidy and a beautiful place still to visit. We will be hiring more people. We are hiring up to an additional 6 people to complement the service that we already offer and the crews that we already have. We've had a great response. We've already brought an additional 2 people in. So all this has happened in a matter of short number of weeks, recognising that change was needed. And you know, we hear what everybody is saying about, you know, the disquiet around the service that is being delivered so far. So we know that quickly we have to change, and we're hoping with the additional resources that we're bringing in that everybody will start to see and feel that change for the positive and for the better as well. We also know that we need to use our resources in a slightly different way, and when I'm talking about resources there, I mean our vehicles. Partly we're limited by our operator's licence, so that dictates that we can only have a maximum number of vehicles on that licence. We currently are at the maximum number of vehicles, so the way around to a different way of thinking around that is how do we get better use out of those vehicles. So what we will be doing with the additional people that we take on board to supplement our crews is we will start moving towards an additional service after the normal service that you've seen. So that'll be late afternoon and early evening, and that'll be in the event that we need to run that extra service where we know throughout the course of the day that we've missed that recycling and we've missed those pickups. So we don't want residents to have to wait the current 3 days if we can get that done beforehand. We're also doing what Councillor Morgan has said already, which is we've got another vehicle, and a smaller vehicle that will become almost a trailer to the larger vehicles that you see going out, our big 26-ton recycling vehicles. So again, throughout the day, we know through our in-cab technology exactly where we've missed those households and where we haven't done those pickups. So we were sending out one of these vehicles to trail around all the missed vehicles there. We're also going to be bringing in an additional vehicle on hire short term, because one of our vehicles is off the road at the moment, so this will be permissible within our current licence. So we're going to fill that slot and bring in an additional vehicle over the summer months for another couple of months, just to make sure that when we get on top of some of this recycling and get to a resumed normal service and a standard that we would like to see, that we can keep on top of it for the next few months until we get a vehicle back. So I think there's quite a few things that we have in play there that we've worked up in a short period of time to fully recognise that we need to do more, do better, and that's what we want to deliver, and we're all committed to that.
What kind of message, Steve, would we like to get out to residents today on how they can help us? What can they do to help us deliver a better service?
As I mentioned, I think it's important for people to continue to separate their waste. I think it's important for them to get their boxes out on the curb on time and covered so that material doesn't blow away. And I think what we really want the residents to do is what they've been doing. It would be nice in the cardboard side if they were to cut up the cardboard into smaller bits so that they weren't gigantic and uncollapsed, because that does take extra time. I know one of the things I do is with a box cutter, as I cut mine into pieces that would nicely fit in the bottom of the bag. And if everything fits in the bag very tightly, then that would work out really well. I think what we want the residents to do is be patient, and recognize we will get to them, and we're going to continue to improve our service.
Sarah, I think it's fair to say that where we do miss collections or we're late in making those collections, we actually know that, and that information is readily available on our system straight away. And we could be asking residents, not to be phoning customer services to inform us of miscollections, because we do know, and we are doing what we can to address it.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. Yes, we all of our vehicles, all our recycling vehicles and our refuse vehicles, they have in-cab technology, so sort of the equivalent of what you'd see like an iPad. And as they either, for example, can't get down a road, and Councillor Morgan's referred to skinny streets, but where we've got like parked cars, for example, and there's been one instance last week on Friday where we weren't able to access an entire road. So because of one parked vehicle, we couldn't get down the road. That driver of that vehicle will basically touch the button to say this street has been missed. So it's all mapped perfectly to the rounds and the households that we pick up from, and we know exactly where we've missed. And this just doesn't happen at the end of a round. This happens en route as the vehicles are servicing each of those roads and streets, and that's fed straight back into Moresby, our depot site there. And we try and put that information almost real time online on our website so that any resident can see that yes, there's confirmation there that we are aware that we have missed that particular address, and that also our pledge in recent months has been that we will aim to recover that missed recycling within a 3-day working period.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there'll be more cars on more streets due to home working, because people aren't getting in the cars to go to a place of work.
That is absolutely right, and that's what we've been seeing. So some of this is sort of secondary to what's happened because of the COVID pandemic. So you're absolutely right. There's more people at home, more cars on street. But there's also things like works being done by highways, by utilities. Roads that we can't access, that we can't go down. And again, I mean, some residents may feel that we can go down those roads. There are certain times when we can, but there are other times when we can't. And our drivers are well acquainted with those times where they're able to go through a sign that says no access on this road, so we're fully aware of that as well.
Okay, thank you both very much. And I think it's sort of fair to say that, over the last 5 to 6 years as well, we've had unprecedented growth in new building projects with new housing developments going up all over the place, and budgets haven't kept up to the same rate. We have allocated 600,000 additional in this year's budget, because we certainly do not underplay the importance of waste and recycling collections. Recycling, is a new service, or a relatively new service. So having only come in 4 years ago. So environmentally, it's good all round, and it's fantastic that we can deliver doorstep recycling service. But what I would like to echo from both Steve Morgan and Sarah Pemberton is an absolute commitment that we deliver the best service possible. And my request is that people do just stick with us, stay patient. We are starting to emerge from the pandemic, but we are taking proactive steps to improve the service continually. Steve, is there a final message you'd like to leave with residents before we close off today?
No, just keep doing what you've always been doing, and we'll get to you.
Sarah, is there anything you'd like to close with from an operational point of view?
Yeah, I would just like to say, sort of, we completely understand the frustrations of residents. It's not the service we want to deliver currently. Please be assured that all our crews do their utmost to get around every single household on their round during the course of any working day. But we just thank you for your patience, and we'd like you to bear with us a little longer as we implement some of the changes that we've outlined here. And we do hope that you'll see and appreciate a better service that is coming your way very soon.
I just wanted to add one more thing. Be nice to the crews. They're working very hard. It's been a tough environment for them, and it would be helpful if the residents cut them some slack. Thanks very much.
I echo that. Thank you very much for that. I echo that as well.
Yeah, I think that is a point that's extremely well made. It's not an easy job that's been, it's done in all weathers. And I'd personally like to pay tribute to the whole of the waste and recycling crews, and indeed the street cleaners, who's done a remarkable job throughout this pandemic. They're as much community heroes as other public servants, and I certainly recognise that, and certainly from talking to residents, I think that appreciation is reflected there as well. Thank you very much for joining us for today's podcast. Thanks to Sarah and Steve. We'll be back later in the week with another podcast where I'm going to be joined by the Chief Executive of both Beck and Whitehaven Harbour Commission, where we'll be talking about some of the hugely positive developments that are coming our way in Copeland. So look out for that later in the week, when I will be joined by key players in driving forward that change. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.